Good morning everyone and welcome back to another weekly reading vlog. So I'm trying to set myself up for a much more positive reading week this week coming, because last week I really struggled to read any paperback or physical books at all really. I was pretty much just listening to audiobooks. That's all my brain was able to take in, and so I'm hoping if I start some physical books this weekend, then hopefully that will G me up and I'll just keep reading those paperbacks throughout the week. So to go with my Pride and Prejudice mug here, I have also picked up Pride and Prejudice because that is one of my reread books that I'm hoping to read in this year. I've set myself a little challenge to pick up some of my favourite books that I've read in my entire existence, and this is one of them, so I'm hoping it turns out to be a 5-star read again. I have full faith that it will be as good as I remember it being. I also have started reading The 10,000 Doors of January by Alex E. Harrow. I've literally just read a couple of chapters on this one as well. I'm doing this as a buddy read with my friend Laurie. What I've read so far seems to be okay, nothing special. It actually confused me a little bit at the beginning because I thought it was a middle grade book, because in the first chapter the character's like 7 years old, but just on the chapter that I just started it said like 10 years later, so I believe she's now 17, so I got a bit thrown at the beginning, but I don't believe this is a middle grade. I think it is more of a young adult type book, so that's exciting. And then the final book that I've picked up is The Assassin's Blade by Sarah J. Maas, so I'm excited for this one. I actually read a lot more than I expected to of this one last night, probably about 60 pages, and I'm really enjoying it so far. It's interesting because this is actually a collection of like short stories in the Throne of Glass world, and I don't usually like short stories. However, this is definitely more my cup of tea because it's about characters that I already know in a world that I already know and feel very invested in. So yes, looking forward to reading more of this one. Today is a beautifully sunny day, so I am sure we're going to go out for a walk at some point, and then I think we're going to play some board games later. Mark's recently bought a card game called Fugitive, I think it's called, so I might do a little kind of shot of us playing that later because that's quite fun from what we've played of it so far. So yeah, looking forward to a lovely Sunday. Everyone, and welcome to Tuesday. I'm happy to report that I'm having a much better week than I was last week, and I'm actually managing to read some, which is really lovely. So where am I at the moment with my reading? I am on chapter 11 of Middlemarch, and I'm really enjoying it. For some reason I always think that starting a classic is going to be really difficult, and that the actual reading experience of it is going to be really difficult, and it always surprises me when I start reading them and I'm like, oh, it's not, it's just words like any other book, with some that seem a little bit outdated, but you can pretty much guess what it would mean anyway. And so I'm really enjoying it so far. Basically, we're following two sisters, Dorothea and Celia. Between the two of them, they have very different sensibilities and different perspectives on the world and who they should and shouldn't marry. And at the moment, Dorothea has her sights on an older gentleman who Celia thinks is not right for her sister. And so that's where we are at the moment. Quite funny as well, I've enjoyed a few quips that have come out of it so far, so looking forward to continuing with this one. 115 pages into The 10,000 Doors of January. Not sure how I'm feeling on this one as of yet. It's got like His Dark Materials kind of vibes, it's got the Starless Sea kind of vibes with going through doorways and doorways leading to places, but at the moment the writing style just seems quite clunky, and I'm just not vibing with any of the characters. I don't really feel invested in January as a character. Also, this book is set in like the 1800s, I believe, or there are parts of it that are set in the 1800s, and I feel like the author is trying to make discussions on race, which I think sometimes can be a little bit difficult if you're basing it in a time where like slavery was rampant. At the moment I'm kind of unsure on how the author wants the idea of race to be purveyed at a time that it was kind of deemed acceptable to have slaves and things like that. So interested to see where this one goes. Essentially at the moment, January is a young woman and she's found a book, and the book is telling her about these doors that will take you into other worlds, and she's discovering stuff about them. And I think when she was a child, she found one of these doors but quickly kind of came back out of it and then it got destroyed. So we will see what happens with this one. Now this one I'm really enjoying. In fact, this is the one that I'm kind of finishing my day off with each day, just because I'm finding it really easy reading. I think when you kind of know the characters, you know the setting, especially with fantasy, it's so much easier to just like slip into the world and be like, cool, know what's going on here, I'm enjoying it. And I'm about 155 pages into this one. And what I'm loving about this one is that whilst they're short stories, like it's broken down into about 5 different stories, I think, they are interconnected, so they kind of like follow on from each other. However, you could just jump into this book and read one story and it would be a whole story that you could enjoy. I love the fact that we're learning more about Selena and getting a fuller kind of picture of her before she became the character that we found in the Throne of Glass book. I'm just absolutely loving this one so far. Looking forward to reading more. So for the minute, I'm going to continue reading Middlemarch, and then I will check in with you again once I've read some more. Bye. Everybody, so we're now on Friday. I can't believe how quickly this week has gone, and I feel like I haven't updated you all that much, but I have been reading Pride and Prejudice. This is my reread and I'm about 100 pages into it. I'm really enjoying it. It makes me laugh so much, and I forgot how funny and witty Jane Austen's characters are. They fill me with so much joy. Mr. and Mrs. Bennet, I mean, Mrs. Bennet is just ridiculous, but Mr. Bennet with his sarcasm and riling his wife up makes me laugh so much. Jane Austen just writes incredible characters. If you haven't read a Jane Austen book, I would implore you do so. They are brilliant. I love them so much. So yeah, can't wait to read more of this one. I am about 200 pages into Middlemarch, and you can see my little tabs along the top there. It's good. I'm enjoying it so far. I think I've heard people describe Middlemarch as like just people visiting each other's houses, and yeah, that's right. You could say that pretty much for Jane Austen. It's that, but it's enjoyable. Like I don't mind that. It's not a huge amount happened in the story yet. We're kind of just setting the scene. We've met a lot of characters, so trying to keep all the characters in my head and remember how they're all related to each other and what part of Middlemarch they're from and all this kind of stuff. I'm having to like put my effort in there. I think I might actually even look up like a character list so that I can remember who's the doctor and who's the lawyer and who's all these people. But absolutely, so far I'm really enjoying it. So next we've got The 10,000 Doors of January. Whew, this coffee, I thought I was going to lose it then. So this book is just taking me a while to get into. I am about 200 pages in, I think, just under 200 pages in. And I think about 50 pages ago, things finally started making a little bit more sense. The chapters are incredibly long, so you have a huge portion of talking about January, and then she'll start reading this book. And so far, up until about a page 150, the two stories didn't really connect at all for me. I found it quite jarring to go from reading about January to suddenly reading this book, which didn't really seem to bear any connection with January, apart from a very minor connection from her childhood. It felt like I was just getting into January's story again, but then suddenly thrown into another story, and then just getting into that one, and then suddenly being back with January again. Still finding the discussions on race a little bit unusual. January is a biracial character. Because of the time it's set in, it is, I don't know, not being a person of colour myself, I don't know if these discussions are well represented, if the people of colour in this are represented well. I just don't know that, but to me it feels a little bit off. After finishing this one, I might try and seek out some reviews from people of colour who have read this one to see how they feel about it, and if they had any issue at all with it, I'd be interested to see what they think. So I'm now around page 200, and things have somewhat just got interesting. Like, I actually feel like I want to continue reading this book now, whereas up until now I've kind of just been reading it because it's a buddy read and I feel like I want to chat to someone about it. But we've just hit a part in the story that's maybe go, okay, now I get kind of what's happening here, so we'll see what happens. Final book that I've been reading, and I'm only about 100 pages from the end now, is The Assassin's Blade by Sarah J. Maas. And I am enjoying this one so much. I don't know when in the timeline of these books she actually wrote this one, but I feel like the writing in this one is so much better than the first two books in the Throne of Glass series. I think I mentioned before that these are short stories, but actually they're novellas. I don't know what the difference between a novella and a short story is. Maybe a novella is slightly longer, I don't know. Anyway, I'm very keen to finish this one over the next couple of days. I'm so excited to then continue on with the rest of the books in the Throne of Glass series. I'm just loving Selena. I think she's such a cool character. So yeah, that's that one for you. I don't know if I'll update you again in this vlog, but I'll be starting another vlog tomorrow for next week, so you can catch up on all these books with me then. I hope you've all had a really lovely week. Come and tell me what you've been reading in the comments down below. I'd love to chat to you, and I'll see you next time. Bye!